a question that came in on Facebook that I wanted to make sure that we addressed from a young adult. He wants to know what resources would be available for someone who is an adult, not diagnosed as being on the spectrum, but has a lot of the same mannerisms and traits as someone on the spectrum. For instance, how would one be diagnosed as an adult, and what places would be able to do that? It sucks seeing videos of people who are diagnosed talking in a way similar to the way that I talk, giving gestures with their hands that I give, but knowing that I was possibly not diagnosed because my mother didn't care and didn't give me any support, or because I was such a high-functioning individual that testing for my form of it wasn't as up-to-date as it is now.
Very smart. You're a very, very smart person, you are. Not too many people would actually realize that, you know, this is an adult. So when you were a child, I guess it was sort of this huge ocean of individuals coming into, it's like a massive flood of people coming in. And I assume you're a young adult, because there are not that many older adults, you know. So when we're looking at, let's say 20 years ago, diagnostic issues were very different. It wasn't so much about diagnosing the higher functioning folks as it was, there were just so many kids coming in with severe forms of autism that all the attention on diagnostics was on them. It was a flood, you know, of young people coming in. So I would say now, with the new diagnostic criteria that allows us to kind of diagnose based on severity. You know, in the old days, like before 2003, you may have possibly been classified as either Asperger's or pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified. Now, the criteria are pretty much the same. There is no other sort of milder form. It's the same, but you can have a severity of 1, 2, or 3, 3 being the most severe and 1 being the least severe. So where would you go? You would go to a diagnostic center. You're in the US, I assume, and if you're in the US, any psychologist would be able to do this for you. A psychiatrist would probably be able to do this for you. So you're really looking for a psychologist or psychiatrist, preferably. I think you're in better shape if you go to a center where it specializes in autism, like where we are, or many universities have this as well. It's simply because, generally speaking, people are more dismissive when it's an older individual who's high functioning. And so I don't know that it has really anything to do with your parents. I think it has your mom, for instance. I think more than not, it's likely that people were very dismissive because you're very high functioning. So, and what you're looking for, you know, the way the diagnosis works, there has to be a set number and very specific criteria that are met. So the first domain of the diagnosis is what's called social communication, and there are a specific number of symptoms, and every single one of those boxes has to be checked. Now, you can't not check one of them in that segment. In the second section, there's several symptoms. This has now to do with the second kind of domain that we look at, which is called stereotypic or repetitive sensory-based types behaviors, and you have to have like one at least in that area. So you kind of, it's a little bit different, but it's based on a series of symptoms. Look up DSM-5, autism spectrum disorder, and it'll come up. You can find it. It's online. Autism Speaks has it on their website. You can just look it up online. It'll come up. The symptom criteria for autism or ASD, it'll just pop up. But you want to look at the DSM-5 version, and you'll see. And if you really feel that you fit the required criteria, then go see a psychologist or go to a center, and they will give you a diagnosis. Now, what will the diagnosis do for you? It will get you access to ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, through your health insurance, through your medical insurance, and you will then be able to access people like us And what we do, of course, I would love to work with you. I don't know where you are, but we do have a whole program for very, very advanced, high-functioning adults. My supervisors who deal with the adults at CARD are fantastic. So I don't know where you are, but those are the steps I would take. And if you do actually get a diagnosis, and you're always welcome to come to us for diagnosis as well. So just get in touch.
And he has written in while you were talking and said that he has tried living by himself, but yesterday at the doctor, they said that they want to put him in assisted living. And he says, I failed at living by myself.
Yeah, so and those are things that we can definitely help you with. And I just don't want you to think about it as a failure. You know, we go through a lot of things in life, and if we didn't try them and didn't fail at them, we wouldn't learn. So please don't look at it as I failed at something. You need some additional tools, and I'm pretty sure we can give you those tools. And the way to go about it is just to go through the path, get your diagnosis, and as I said, if you're anywhere near LA, come and I'll diagnose you. I'll look at you. I'll talk to you myself. And if you're not, just get in touch with us.
Dr. Grandin, what is it like for you personally to have become the most celebrated person in the field of autism?
Well, I feel it's a responsibility. I get a lot of emails and letters from young kids. In fact, at the last conference I was at, I got a whole envelope of letters from kids in an English class. What makes me pleased is I think I'm inspiring a lot of kids to succeed, because I want to see kids succeed. Now, one problem I'm seeing with some of the fully verbal kids is they're not getting stretched enough. I see kids coming up to me at conferences where nobody's taught them how to shake hands. See, when I was a young child, I had to be party host at my mother's parties. I had to shake hands, say please and thank you, have table manners, learn how to shop. And I'm seeing too many situations where they aren't learning those basic skills.
Yeah, so you really think they need the basic skills that every child should learn?
Yes. Now, in the 50s, every child was taught social skills in a much more structured way. And today, that's not the case. Now, the so-called normal kids, they pick it up, but the autistic kids have got to be taught. Okay. And that's not being done enough.
What kind of preconceptions, though, do you think most people have about relating to those with ASD?
Autism is a really big spectrum. You're going all the way from Silicon Valley down to somebody with a lot of intellectual challenges. Now, the kinds of services and things a person needs is very different, those two ends of the spectrum. And I go to different places. I go to Silicon Valley, and I see a lot of people that I know are on the spectrum. And then I go see another kid that's smart at math, but nothing's being done to develop his skills, and he's getting addicted to video games. And they are the same kind of kid. The thing that I'm seeing, especially on the mild end of the spectrum, is too many kids sort of becoming the label. I'm very concerned about them getting a handicap mentality. Then I go over to the meatpacking plant, and there's a whole maintenance shop of old hippies that I know are on the spectrum, and they run that maintenance shop. And they've been there for years and years and years.
Why do you think the numbers, 1 in 68 now, have risen so dramatically?
I think on the mild end of the spectrum, it's increased detection. Because I can think of kids I went to elementary school with, kids I went to college with, that today would be diagnosed on the spectrum. I think that's a big part of it on the mild end of the spectrum. Now, I think there also is some severe autism that may have actually increased because there's more environmental contaminants, and there's more medications being given during early pregnancy.
Dr. Grandin, you beg parents not to let their children with autism be defined by the DSM or the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Why?
Well, I think the DSM made a big mistake removing Asperger's syndrome, because under the DMS-4, autism you had to have speech delay, Asperger was no speech delay. Now, you could argue scientific reasons for taking out the speech delay stuff, but from a service provider standpoint, you know, the kind of services that somebody's nonverbal has is different than a mild kid with Asperger's. And I'm seeing too many fully verbal kids, less severe than me, getting put into a class with nonverbal kids. I'm seeing too many smart kids not learning job skills. That's another thing that I really push. Because when I was 13, my mother had got me in a sewing job. When I was 15, I was cleaning horse stalls. It's really important that students intern in a job before they graduate from high school. They got to learn that discipline of getting to work.
If you could speak to every business owner in America, what would you say to convince them to hire somebody on the autism spectrum?
Well, there's certain things they can do extremely well. In fact, the SAP Corporation is hiring people with autism. There's another Project Search, where there's work being done with collaborating with hospitals to train them to set up surgical instruments for different types of surgery. And they take longer to train, but once they're trained, they're super, super good and meticulous about making sure the instruments are set up right. And that's got about a 78% employment rate.
So you think the skills that those with ASD have to offer are often overlooked by people that employ?
As I said before, I can think of kids that I went to college with that definitely were on the autism spectrum. Those individuals are all employed in good jobs. And I think a lot of this gets back pounding those manners in the 50s and the 60s, and kids being on things like paper routes, where they learned work skills.
Why do you think the experts in the field of ASDs focus so intensely on the deficits and not on the strengths of autism?
Well, we need to be building up strengths. My ability in art was always encouraged. And I was encouraged to do lots of different kinds of art. If you got a third grader that's good at math and he can do a high school math book, let him do the high school math book. Don't hold them back.
I want to know why you think that so little attention has been paid to the sensory processing issues. What can we learn from those?
Well, I just heard about a brand new study that's been done up at in California, Dr. Wu, and they took children aged 4 through 12 that had speech delay, and they stayed in their regular programs, ABA or whatever the speech therapy the school was doing, and then they got an hour a day of sensory therapy where they did a lot of variety of stimulation, like walk on different kinds of flooring, smell different smells, do different activities in a mirror, big variety, always doing more than one sensory thing at a time. And it was done as a controlled experiment, where half the kids just got the regular treatment and the other half got this added sensory treatment. And they got some really big, significant improvements. And they made the point of using all very inexpensive things that would be in any house.
There's so much division in the autism community. How do you think we can all come together and find a common ground?
I think that merging Asperger's together with autism has made all of this worse, because you have a segment of very, very severely handicapped kids where they're never going to be able to live independently. That's a very different kind of situation than a mild Asperger's type of kid. You see, you're putting too many apples and oranges together. Every other diagnosis, like dyslexia, learning problems, ADHD, you've got a fully verbal kid. Only in autism, right now, are you getting a range going from, smart computer geek down to somebody that has very, very severe challenges. Now, I think the American Psychiatric Association originally figured the Asperger kids would get into this social communication category. That's not what's happening. Nobody's going into that because there's no funding for it.
As the most admired person in this field, and we are literally becoming an autism nation, what do you think the most important thing is for us to be aware of?
Well, there's a point where personality variants are just normal variation. I think a brain can be made more cognitive and thinking, or a brain can be made more social. Now, at what point does that become abnormal? There's no black and white dividing line. I'm getting concerned that what we're saying is abnormal is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Obviously, a child that has severe speech delay, that's an abnormality. But when you take the kids that are just kind of socially awkward, a lot of those kids are really smart. And then you got the person that's a total social butterfly. And let's think back to the caveman days. I don't think the social yak-yaks around the campfire made the first stone spear.
Dr. Grandin, thank you for inspiring all of us as parents and children.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, proud autism mom and the host of Autism Live. Autism Live is an interactive web show whose mission is to provide a free resource to the entire autism community and to the world at large. Whether you're watching our live shows on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, or you're catching up on our free podcasts on YouTube, iTunes, and Roku, we want to provide you with the support you need when you need it, and to give you a little hope and inspiration along the way too. For the mom in Kansas whose child has just been diagnosed and she's preparing for her first IEP meeting, we want to provide you with helpful resources to make that meeting as productive and as stress-free as possible. For the 16-year-old in Bangor who writes to us and wants to know, how do you get friends and keep them? We want to give you support and information to make that possible for you. For the teacher in Calgary who wants to know, how do you get past the challenging behavior and help a child to be excited to learn? We want to give you access to tools and education to make that dream a reality. And for the dad in Wyoming whose daughter is engaging in self-injurious behavior, we want to get you access to experts who can help you to keep your daughter safe and to turn that equation around. We know that autism isn't one size fits all. And we know that sometimes you need resources, and sometimes you just need to know that somebody is listening. We are. We know from the letters that we get from our viewers every day that we can and are making a difference. And frankly, that just makes us want to do more. In our hope and vision, we have so many things that we want to do at Autism Live, like providing a weekly global peer parent support group, educational programs that are designed specifically for children on the autism spectrum, fun and interactive social and vocational programs for our young adults, and resources and information for pregnant women and for women who are about to be pregnant so they can significantly lower their risk of having a child with more disabling aspects of autism. We can do this. We want you to know that we're fighting hard every day to stay on the air and to be a free resource for you, but we can't do it alone. Right now, we're working hard to identify corporations and foundations and individuals who want to support us in this mission, who want to help us to help you. So join us. Watch the show, ask questions, sign up for our free newsletter, and share what you find here freely. It's important that you do. Autism Live, where knowledge is power and hope is our favorite four-letter word. Welcome back to Autism Live. We're so excited because with us in the studio we have Kobe Bird, and this is nothing new. We have had Kobe on the show. Has it been 4 times, Kobe?
Yeah, 4 times.
4 times.
4 or 5 times.
Okay, because I was trying to remember last night. The first time you came on the show was you were doing something with the Miracle Project.
Yeah.
It was like the bully.
Yeah, it was the intimidation game.
The intimidation game.
Yeah.
So you came on. Then I honestly think you came on twice for that.
Yeah, I did.
And then you really were loving acting then, and you were taking regular classes. Then you did a camp. That was something tied to Broadway.
Yeah, Broadway Dreams Foundation.
Broadway
It
Dreams.
was a really good week.
And after Broadway Dreams ended, you were one of the people that was chosen to go do a workshop in New York City. That was right about this time last year, wasn't it?
Yes, I was.
Because it was like right before Thanksgiving. And so you came back on the show to talk about that you were going to Broadway Dreams. And I remember very distinctly that saying to you, so Kobe, what do you want to do when you grow up? And you said,
I want to be an actor and a singer.
and see, I just want to cry because, and I said, good for you, Kobe, I'm excited for you. You're going to go and you're going to do that. I certainly didn't know how quickly you were going to make that happen. You went and did the showcase in New York. Kobe came back, got himself an agent, and then did a guest spot on Speechless.
Yeah.
Which we were so proud of and talked about when you were on Speechless. It was the Oscar episode, if anybody hasn't seen it. And then Kobe's just continued to be in shows, and we interviewed you again when you, this fall when, was it fall or summer when Miracle Project was doing their new show, and we interviewed you again. And then Kobe went out and got himself a ginormous role on The Good Doctor, the #1 rated show on television. There is no moss growing under Kobe Bird's feet. And the episode finally just aired on Monday.
It was great.
Wasn't it? I mean, it was
a
so
wonderful
amazing.
Episode. It really was.
A great episode.
It was.
And Kobe, I gotta say, you were one of the most fabulous things in it.
Thank you.
So, and you see the picture on the screen there of Kobe when he was in the episode. It was emotional to watch. You are a 15-year-old on the spectrum, and you were playing a 15-year-old on the spectrum.
Actually, I think he was 18.
18.
Yeah, he was 18 or 19 or something.
So you were having to play
18,
older than you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
were also playing someone who their particular type of autism is not your particular type
Yeah.
of autism.
Yeah, very nonverbal, not hard time with space and sensory issues. That's something I used to have a while ago, but it wasn't like that. But it kind of related to me because that's how I kind of was back when I was younger.
Yeah, when you were really younger,
Yeah,
right?
I barely talk. I had that very little language. I barely talked, and I always had problem with sound and lights and everything.
And so amazing.
Yeah.
It was such a heartfelt performance and not an easy performance. You had a lot going on.
Yeah.
For people who haven't seen
was-
it, I don't know where you've been, but you need to go watch it now. If it's DVR'd or you can get it on demand, you
Hulu.
need to go watch Hulu.
Yeah, Hulu.
And look at you knowing where all your shows are. And we sat as a family and watched it, my husband and my son and I, and you're friends with my son. And we were just like on the edge of our chairs the entire time, engrossed in the entire thing. I can't imagine what it was like for you and your family to watch. Were you guys doing the same thing?
We were my mom was crying, like she was blowing her eyes, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm on TV, and I'm thinking, wow, am I really that good? I'm like,
You
I'm
were.
like that good.
You really were.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing that we said every time they would go to commercial, we would all go, oh, he's so good, he's so good, he's so amazing. And there were times, I don't want to give surprises away, there were times that things happened that we were all like, oh, no. And we were so concerned because you are that good. And I saw some of the reviews, Kobe, and one in particular that the person said, well, he was fabulous and speechless, and now he's had this great role on The Good Doctor and was so amazing. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of this rising young star. You're a rising young star. Is it a little bit weird that you're seeing yourself on TV?
I mean, the fact I'm getting famous, like in over 4 days, I'm like.
People suddenly know who you are.
Yeah. I'm like one day my account on Instagram is like just like 30 or 90 followers, just like that, and then all of a sudden it's scary about it's all the way up to 1,000 followers, and now like I'm around I'm like around 3,000 followers. I'm like, how did I get that fast in just over 6 or 7 days?
Yeah, because people
I'm
know.
like,
And we let people know whenever we have a star who's coming in to be on the show. We put out an email and let them know that that they're going to be here, and so people lined up this morning to meet you and take their picture with you.
A lot of people did. Yeah, it was awesome.
And
I loved
I'm.
it.
Please let us all know though if that ever gets to be intimidating, right?
Oh no, it's okay. I
But
love my fans.
maybe down the road, it might get. But let people know. But he was, for you guys to know, he was fabulous. You did the meet and greet this morning and took pictures with people, signed autographs, and answered questions, and it was really wonderful. So I want to know, when you found out that you were going to be on The Good Doctor. We hadn't even seen the first episode yet, right?
Yeah.
Because we were all waiting for it to come out. We'd seen the advertisements for it.
Yeah.
But you hadn't even seen the pilot episode
Yeah,
yet.
right. Yeah, right when I got the part, the show didn't even air yet. Like it was just a couple of days before it aired, and when I auditioned for it, I was like, oh wow, I'm gonna go to, if I get this, I can go to Canada. So next week I'm waiting, and I'm asking my mom, did I get the part yet? And she's like, I'm pretty sure not. So all of a sudden I keep hearing these things about my agent and like in the entire cast and crew, like the whole crew, like trying to get me on the set, like trying to get me to book the role.
Yeah.
And it was it was Thursday night, and I was taking out the trash, and right when I entered my house to put the rubbish back in the can, my mom was calling my agent, and she was saying I booked the role, and I dropped the bag, and I was like, wait, what? I just stood there. I just stood there listening to her, and she wasn't even acknowledging that I was there. And then she looked at me, and then she gave me like a wink. She gave me a wink. I was like, no, this can't be happening. This has to be some kind of break or something, because it can't be possible that I got this that I actually got this job, that like that could be really huge for me. So
Yeah.
I flipped out. Like I was like, this can't be happening for me. I must be dreaming or somehow.
Did
I
you do
must,
the happy dance in your house? Did you do some kind of happy dance or no?
No.
No.
I did like.
Okay, you got to cultivate a happy dance for when you book stuff. That makes it all the more fun.
I did
So-
like in my head. In my head, I did like this little anime gesture. Like this little anime gesture in my head. I was like, yeah.
Okay, well that's the happy
Yeah,
dance. There you
yeah.
go, and it can be in your head.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you were taking out the trash. First of
Mhm.
all, I love the fact that you're a young man who takes out the trash for his
Mhm.
mother. Could you teach that to my son?
Yes, I will.
He doesn't know how to do that yet.
Oh,
Um,
it's easy. It's so easy. It really is. It really is.
We have not had him taking out the trash. I just realized. So first of all, there's that. And I love that some of the biggest moments in life happen when you're doing the most real things. Of course, you were taking out the trash and
Mhm.
finding out that you're going to be on the biggest show on television. Amazing. So excited. But then there was quite a lot that had to happen to get you up
Mhm.
to Vancouver.
We had to get my passport because I didn't have a passport yet. So we had so the next day we had to get my passport, and they were saying that we were leaving tomorrow night. So it was like, oh wow. So it's like this is happening all of a sudden like really fast. So
Yeah.
So,
And how many days were you in Canada? Was it 14?
13 days.
13 days.
13 days, yeah. And we got my passport. We went to like this really serious federal building, and we waited for like almost 3 hours just like to get my passport. And when we finally got it, I was like, yes, I finally got it. But then we weren't. But then we were told that we weren't going until Sunday. So the next day we saw the pre-screening with you. For the
Yeah, we
pilot.
went to
It was great.
they had
It was great.
they had an invited audience at the back lot of Disney to watch the pilot.
Yeah, it was.
So Jem and I went, and
wonderful. It
we
really
hadn't
was.
called anybody, and we got there, and we were sitting there, and we were going, well, this is an audience full of the autism community. It can't be that we don't know anybody here. And then we looked around, we didn't see anybody, and we're like, oh, I guess we don't know anybody. And the next thing we knew, you guys popped up next to us, and you guys all had a look on your face like something extra was going on.
Yeah.
So how amazing to be there to watch the pilot knowing that you were going to be on the show. Now I want to fast forward a little bit. So you get this script
Mm-hmm.
and you see that it's a big role.
It's like it was like 70 pages long, I think.
and
it was
you
huge.
you are now a very experienced actor. You've
Mhm.
done lots of plays and
Mhm.
lots of different experiences, and I want people to realize that this is not just Kobe decided on a Tuesday to be an actor and then he got this role. You've been working.
I worked so hard to get this role, and it really paid off because now I'm like on this big, possibly one of the most popular TV shows like to date, at this time for now. But like, it was because I was thinking, well, this is gonna be really big for me because it's the biggest role I've possibly ever gotten in any play, in any show, in anything whatsoever, and it was the biggest thing I ever did, and it was possibly the best thing I did in a while because
Absolutely.
it was a wonderful experience. Just those 2 weeks, just working and acting and spending in like going sightseeing in Canada, like it was one of the best weeks I possibly ever had, like this year because it was amazing. Like everyone was so accepting with me, and it really changed my life. It really brought it brought a much more bigger impact on my life, and it was amazing.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine because for people who don't know, being on a set like that, time is money,
Mm-hmm.
and you had places that you had to be emotionally to be able to get the scene, and you had to know your lines, and you had to know your actions and
Mhm.
everything, and be able to get it. And it's a high
Yeah.
pressure situation when it's that level of people.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring your dad in a minute to talk
Mhm.
about what it was
Mhm.
like for him being there on set with you. But was it stressful for you, Code?
Actually, not at all. I thought it was amazing. It was I was just there doing my job, and I was and I had a really fun job doing it. It was and I'm really and I'm really thankful for all my fans who are like supporting me with everything and telling me I did great because I just it's just amazing because like it feels like my dream is coming true.
Your dream is
It
coming
feels like
true.
my wish has literally came true. And it's like it's happening so fast, but like it's so amazing. I can't like I'm still processing all of it, but like it's just it's spectacular. I can't believe this is actually happening to me.
It is spectacular, but I also keep going back to the fact that it isn't all that surprising because here, we talk on the show all the time about when your kid is interested in something and has an affinity for it, feed that. And your parents have. That you took a class and you loved it, and so they put you in the next class, and they've kept finding ways for you to take classes. You've been with the Miracle Project for, what is it, 3 years now?
3, 4, 5 years, I think.
Okay.
4 or 5 years, I think.
And
Yeah.
you perform on a regular basis with them, and your parents have had to drive you here and there and everywhere to get to the performances. And your parents are Johnny on it. They're there all the time doing things, making sure that it's all good for you. But you also did the work, and I think a lot of times people say they want to be actors, but they don't do the work. But I love your response when you said, well, I was there to do my job, and I did my job, and I enjoyed it. That's everything. You are going to have such a long and illustrious career.
It is. It's just.
It's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. I think it's just the best thing that possibly has ever happened to me. It's like, this is literally changing my life. This is really changing me, who I am. And if I did this, if I were younger, I would have never done this. If I was at that time where I had very little language and I couldn't stand the sound and the lights and everything, like, it would have really bugged me. But now but I had all the support and all this acceptance, and that kind of caused me to come out of my shell, and that's what really changed my life, because it's amazing, and I'm just really thankful for everything that's happening to me.
Well, you're amazing, and we're thankful for you.
Welcome to Smarty. This month, we're going to be making our own chore spin wheel. You'll notice while we make this fun activity, these icons are going to be popping up onto the screen. These correlate to specific skill sets that are in the Skills program. Skills is the ABA-based online tool that helps parents build their own teaching plan for children on the autism spectrum. If you are a Skills user, this will help you get the most out of this educational opportunity. Well, let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are a large bowl to trace, cardstock, scissors, a pencil, a ruler, a hole puncher, a metal brad, and any other arts and crafts materials you want to use to decorate your pinwheel with. So step 1, you're going to take your large bowl and place it on top of the cardstock and trace the circle. Step 2, you guessed it, you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut along the line. Step 3, you're going to fold the circle into quarters. This is the best way to make sure all the triangles within it are symmetrical. Once you folded the paper, you're going to take your ruler and you're going to trace those lines so you can actually see them on the circle. Now here comes the fun part. Take your arts and crafts materials and you're going to decorate the chore spin wheel. I used some crayons to color in every other quadrant so you could see them pop and see the difference between the different chores. Place the different adaptive skills your child is working on in the different quadrants. Once you're done decorating the circle and labeling the different chores in each quadrant, then you're going to take your scrap paper that you had left over and you're going to cut an arrow out of it. Once the arrow has been cut, you're going to take your hole puncher and hole punch on the very edge of it. This will be your spinner. Then you're going to take your arrow and your circle and line them up and take your brad and place it through and secure it. And voila, you have your finished chore spin wheel. Well, I enjoyed making this activity with you, and I hope to see you soon. Until next time, guys, craft on! To find more about Skills and to access all of the lessons you saw in today's Smarty, visit skillsforautism.com and click on the parents icon. Skills, the online autism solution.
What is the difference between autism and mental retardation?
Okay. So autism and mental retardation are actually very, very different from each other. So, and I define both sort of from a clinical perspective. Autism is diagnosed when there are a number of different symptoms present. When there's and these symptoms indicate a pretty significant level of, let's say, difficulty within the social area of functioning. So, and as well as the presence of certain stereotypical repetitive behaviors. So autism is only diagnosed when an individual has pretty significant social deficits and pretty significant stereotypical behaviors, okay? And then the new version of autism, you can have different severity levels to those things, and you can have language impairment or minimal language impairment or no language impairment along with it. And you can have intellectual disability or no intellectual disability. Intellectual disability is mental retardation. And mental retardation is only defined as not scoring within the norm on standardized measures of intelligence, IQ. The intelligence measure, the IQ, intelligence quotient, is a fraction, which is your mental age over your chronological age times 100. That's how you get an IQ. So if your mental age is, let's say, 5, and your chronological age is 5, then that fraction becomes 1 times 100 becomes 100. So normal IQ is 100 because our mental age and our chronological age are the same. In other words, we do things that all other people our age do. Okay, so it's the same. So whether you're 50 or 5, your IQ will come out to be 100. Now, if your mental age is higher than, let's say, your chronological age, then of course your IQ becomes above 100. That fraction works out to make your IQ higher. If your mental age is lower, then your IQ becomes lower than 100. And if your mental age is lower, that means mentally you're not doing all the things that people of the same chronological age are doing. That's what IQ is. That's what mental retardation is. Now, mental retardation, to be very, very, clear about it, only begins at scores below 85. So 100 being the normal IQ, 85 to 115 is also kind of within the norm. Anything below that starts to go into borderline and then starts going into mental retardation. So what that means is that the individual's actual abilities as measured on these tests are more than one standard deviation different, more than 15 points different than the vast majority of people, which then starts to make you sort of a much smaller percentage of people. Like you're lower than a very small group of people would have that level of problem, let's say. So autism, while it can include mental retardation, doesn't have to.
Okay.
And so they're very, very different things. In fact, most people with autism don't have mental retardation.
And our question from a viewer is, what is ABA?
All right, so ABA stands for Applied Behavior Analysis, and it gets its name from the science of behavior, which is behavior analysis. And that science is not always applied. Sometimes it has to do with basic research and things that are done more in the lab with animals and things like that. But once we get into applied behavior analysis, then it becomes using the science of behavior towards meaningful things in our environment that everyone would pretty much socially agree are meaningful and that need change. So this could be anything. Since we're looking at the science of behavior, it's any behavior. It could be someone needing to quit smoking, lose weight, going into organizations and helping them to increase their productivity of their employees. You name it, if there's a behavior that you're trying to increase or decrease, that's basically what it is. And so ABA is not synonymous as autism treatment, although you will read a lot of times ABA treatment for autism everywhere, and that's okay. It basically means we've made ourselves on the map as a application of a science that's very relevant for a particular population, but remembering that it can be learned to teach anybody anything. And oftentimes too, one thing I want to note is that I've heard people, when they use the term ABA, they'll use it synonymously with DTT, which is discrete trial teaching. And so they might say something like, oh, I don't like that ABA stuff. I tried that and it didn't work with my child or something like that.
And it's just sitting at
And
a
then
table.
what they are actually referring to is that someone who was implementing bad ABA and just did DTT, sitting at a table, trial after trial, the same thing over and over again. And it was very rote, and it wasn't flexible, and they didn't add in other teaching procedures that are within the ABA umbrella. So DTT is only one teaching procedure within the ABA umbrella. There's many others as well. So that's one thing to be a little bit careful of when you're thinking about ABA and what exactly it is.
You got to have quality ABA. But when you have quality ABA, it's been shown time and time again scientifically to be very effective at creating progress with individuals who are on the autism spectrum.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of research on that, and I would say probably close to 1,000 studies now at this point.
Wow.
That show that ABA is effective at either teaching them something or helping to eliminate some challenging behavior that they're exhibiting.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm really excited right now because here in the studio we have with us Anthony Hawkes. Did I get your name right finally?
You did.
It only took me 17 tries. But Anthony is a very talented actor. He is a recurring character, playing a recurring character on Atypical, and which I am a big fan of. And I'm now newly a big fan of yours. For people who are watching the show, if you haven't binged watched it yet, Anthony is, featured in episodes 6 and 8, and hilarious. Your character is absolutely, I think, one of the highlights of the show. And you come in at you are in the funniest moments in the show.
Right.
Which is a wonderful thing. But you are also getting a lot of press right now because you identify yourself as being somebody who's on the autism spectrum, correct?
Yes. That's right.
Okay, so, but that is so secondary to everything. What I really want to talk about is you being an actor. And first of all, welcome to the show, but how old were you when you knew that you wanted to be an actor? Is this a relatively new thing?
No, it hasn't, unfortunately. No, like, I started, when I started thinking that I want to be an actor, that was during my high school years.
Okay.
I guess somewhere in my junior, where I started taking theater classes and all that. I took theater classes my junior and senior year of high school.
And were these at school? They were just part of like an elective you could take at school?
Yeah, elective. And I also did stage crew, like, as a freshman. So, I mean, it was fine, all that, you know. I still felt like I was part of the, show because I did work, I helped build sets, create sets and all that, and for actors to perform on, so yeah.
But by the time you were a junior and a senior, were you getting roles in the shows?
No, because I haven't really tried, auditioned and all that. I was just like, I just took those as electives.
Okay, so you're in a class, but then the class, at some point they do a show. So mostly you were taking the class, but working on the sets and doing, is that a fair assessment of it? But did you love it?
Yeah, it was still worth it.
Okay. And did you find that you made friends while you were taking the classes and working on the productions?
Yeah.
At what point, Anthony, did you realize I want to audition?
I'm gonna say when I started, maybe ever since I graduated from high school.
Okay. And so you decided you wanted to be an actor. Did you decide you wanted to be a professional actor? Did you think that you wanted to do TV and film at that point, or did you want to do like local community theater?
Yeah, like all the stuff that you said, like, the first time, try being a professional on TV and film. I don't, maybe it won't happen. I know it won't happen like, really quick, but I just, maybe not that professional, just, I just want, just do my best at least.
And so when you decided that you wanted to do acting, what was it about acting that you wanted to do? What do you like about it?
Oh, I like how it de-stresses me.
It de-stresses you.
Yeah.
For some people, it stresses them.
Yeah, and not only that, it's, I I just noticed that it's one of my greater hobbies, one of my like, you know, top few great hobbies out of like, you know, the other ones. And because sometimes I would just, you know, act like, you know, something and all that, just to, you know, just for to like get a joke.
Were you doing
something.
characters and voices and things like that for a joke? A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, interesting. So you've decided at some point that you want to be able to audition. You're already graduated from high school and you decide that you want to audition. Were there obstacles to you being able to audition? Like how many, you don't live in LA proper, you live LA
Right.
adjacent. How hard was it? Were there obstacles to you being able to be an actor?
Obstacles, yes, there were. Like maybe like let me I'm gonna talk about like, you know, yeah, there were obstacles when I like first auditioned for like Atypical. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, I
Yeah.
did first off, yeah, like I heard about the audition and all that, and
Tell us about that. How did you hear about it?
yeah, I went to the Sony studio where they're like casting directors. They like, you know, they like look at everyone, you know, how their auditions and all that. You know, there are a lot of people auditioning for Sam because,
Yeah.
and I was like one of them and all that. And I had the script with me and all that just to memorize like, you know, a few
Right.
sentences. And I went in and I did my best. And yeah, I was trying to like be someone else and all that, trying to like, you
Yes.
know, maybe try to like turn myself like maybe what what Sam's character is really like.
Yeah.
And
Because Sam is not like you.
yeah, no,
No, he's very different than you
he's
are.
different.
But so you were trying to become the character of Sam. So, but
Mhm.
I want to go back just a second though, Anthony. How, like, who told you that they were going to do an audition at Sony? How did you find out? Did your mom find out, or did you read about
I
it?
found out because I worked with a job coach named Jocelyn Howard.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she found out.
She's pretty much like a career coordinator and all that. She works for like, you know, Autism Society.
Okay. And so she said they're going to be doing these auditions at Sony.
Yes.
You should go.
Yeah.
I bet you've thanked her a couple of times for that info. Yeah. Okay, so you're there and you're waiting to be seen and you're trying to become the character of Sam. What did you think? What did you think was going to happen? Did you think that you were going to get the role of Sam? Did you think you were going to become a regular? Did any of that, or were you just going to try it out and see what happened? Just go with the flow.
Yeah. I had no, you know, I had mixed feelings with that thought because like a lot of people have been telling me, you know, it's almost impossible to like get like, you know, a part like in a show and all that. You know, I mean, yeah, I mean, I honestly didn't know if I was gonna get the part or not. But I'll tell you this. Wait, how am I just put this? Yeah, so like after I auditioned in front of them, like pretending to be Sam, I mean, they did. They seems though they liked it and all that. You know, they liked me, and they told me like, and when we were done, they told me that they'd contact me the next day, see if I got it or not. And then the next day came, and I got a call for them. Well, Jocelyn got a call from them and all that, and then she came to me and she told me that they said that, you know, Sam's character didn't really fit me. However, they did appreciate they liked my acting so much, and they thought it was like I don't know, just unique. And they said that they really wanted to try and find a way to get me part of the show.
Really, like, so the very next day they called you and said that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But I kind of waited for days and all that, and then like days later, they give me like a script and all that. It's for this character. They created a character just for me and all that named Christopher.
Yeah.
And then I went over to like somewhere out in Beverly Hills and like so I could like, you know, audition in front of casting directors. Like I auditioned again, and I went in. And I read, I did my part, and at the end I don't know that lady's name, but she told me that I killed it. So yeah.
And how did you feel about that? Did it feel really great and when you found out you were going to be on the show, was that a celebration thing? Were you pretty excited?
They didn't tell me I was to be on the show as soon as I was done. Like I left and I spent the night at my grandmother's house, and it was like later on at night and all that. I get a call from Jocelyn, and she told me that they told her that I got the part is mine and all that, and all I had to do was like, you know, accept it, and I did.
And did you know at that time because you were in some pretty racy parts of the show, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Right? The conversation that you're having with the lead character, Sam, is almost always centered around sex and things having to do with sex.
Yeah.
Did you know that when you accepted the role?
I knew a little bit of it. Like when I got the script for Sam's character, I noticed, like, you know, a little bit of topics that were about sex.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so when you saw it though, were you okay with the fact that this is what the topic of conversation was going to be?
I was still fine.
Yeah. And how, now that you've done the show, well, first of all, let's talk about what was it like on the set when you were filming? How exciting was that to be brought in? Did they give you your own dressing room? Were you?
Yeah. I had my own dressing room and all that, like my own trailer.
Right.
Like for
With your name on it?
Yeah, all actors had their own trailer.
Right.
But only, like, it would have our character's name on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And did you take a picture of it so that you have it forever?
I did not.
Did somebody take a picture?
No.
We need to
that I know
assign
of.
someone to take a picture of these kinds of things so you can have it forever and ever. That's a pretty exciting thing, your first trailer. I mean, was this your first professional audition?
Yes.
Do you realize how amazing that makes you, that your first professional audition, you booked and got your own trailer? That's pretty amazing.
I mean, I didn't know. It kind of happened a little fast and all that, you know, because I've been hearing from a lot of people that, it takes. I mean, there are a lot. You get a lot of people in this world want to be actors, but you have to deal with a lot of rejection.
Yes.
And not only that, sometimes it's. I hear some people tell me that it's one of the most stressful jobs ever because, I mean, you're like, I hear that you got to get up really early in the morning, or you have to stay late at night, and you don't really have a lot of time to, like, you know, just do your own thing and all that, you know. You're working a lot.
And all those things can be true, but what did you find to be true when you were on the show?
What did I find?
Did you have to be there really early in the morning?
No, not too early.
Did you have to stay really late?
Only one. My last time my last night I went over there to film and all that. Yeah, I stayed up there until I was there till 2:20.
Okay.
a.m.
Okay, so there was one late night, but was it fun to be there till 2:20?
Yes.
Were you having a good time?
Yes.
I think that's the part that the people say, well, it could be early mornings and it could be late nights. They leave out the fact that it could be the most fun you ever have, too.
I mean, I'm okay with like just staying up like really late and all that, you know. I mean, as long as it's not like all the time, like on a regular basis, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like to do it once in a while.
And I imagine the next day you slept late. You slept a little bit longer.
No, I mean,
you still got
I took when I got back to my place, I took a like in the short, you know, rest and all that. But I don't like, and I just don't like to. I'm a morning person.
Oh, good
I
for
just
you.
like to keep myself up and, you know, be active a little bit.
You're amazing. But we do, you're right. You brought up social skills. This is a huge component of the teen years. I think I had mentally blocked it because it's so overwhelming to me. But let's talk about, you know, how do we help our teens on the autism spectrum with social skills?
Right. So again, you have to go by assessment and what their needs are.
Because it's all individual, right?
Yeah.
We have to keep stressing that. Because we in the community always say when you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. So we have to live by that and look, where is this individual right now, today? Not where were they 2 years ago? Where do we want to be 3 weeks from now? Where are they right now? Then you can look at where do we want to get down the road.
Right.
So you're looking at that for social skills and seeing what do they have strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah. And then once we know what those are, then we'll basically teach them social rules. So a lot of times, literally, if they just know the rule behind what it is they're supposed to be doing, they get a lot better at it.
Yeah.
I've talked to some older individuals who ended up with their diagnoses being removed, who are now in their 20s, and they say that they literally just live by the rules. So when they're interacting with people, they think the rule to themselves like, oh, I'm supposed to make sure I check in with my eyes, you know, like these kind of things. And that's just what they have to do. Now, eventually, I think that can become more automatic.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And hopefully
become
more
fluent.
reinforcing.
Yeah.
Well, fluency was our word for the day. That was our jargon for the day. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, where it's just an automatic response that's not really thought about anymore, but
Yeah.
initially it might be thought about.
Yeah.
So actually, a lot of times we might even set up things in fluency-based instruction type of formats where we get them learning to go really, really fast because
Okay.
unfortunately, when you're doing social skills, if you are processing and thinking everything through before you do it, you missed your opportunity a lot of times.
Okay, I've never really thought about this before. How do you work on social skills with fluency? Like, give me an example. How do you do that?
Well, we might give them, like, for instance, if they're going to be just identifying basic emotions or something like that, we get them doing a certain amount of identifications per minute.
Okay.
And then maybe if we're getting them to make an inference about a picture or something, we do a certain amount per minute.
Okay.
If we're getting them to talk about a cause and effect, like what might happen if she this, we want them to come up with a bunch of different possibilities.
And we tell them you've only got a minute and there's a buzzer that goes off. It's like a game show.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's kind of fun.
We can turn them into whatever they're into. So if they love basketball, you can draw out a little basketball court like on a piece of paper, and every time they beat their timing, they get a basket. And then after a certain amount of baskets, they get to do something they want to do. So maybe they like to play a game board or a board game with you or something like that. And then, of course, while we're playing our board game, we're going to work on social skills in vivo with them, you know, where we do social cues and stuff like this. Yeah. So there's a lot of like teaching what the skill is, teaching the rules, role playing, and then capturing the opportunities to do it in vivo.
Okay, can we go back over those again a little slower?
So teaching rules.
Okay.
And then going over it and rehearsing through role play, getting them fluent.
Okay.
Then setting up opportunities that are like captured in vivo where they don't necessarily know that they're doing it after you've role played it. And then of course you want to get it out into with other peers and stuff like that. Now this is the harder part, is because sometimes if they're mainstreamed or whatever, their peers might not even necessarily know what's going on with them.
Right.
And they're not going to feel comfortable with someone like me coming and hanging out with them.
Right.
So
it's
this
harder
is
in the teen years. It is harder.
Yeah, so there's social skills groups that you can do where they can practice with other peers.
Here's my issue with social skills groups for teens, is that the vast majority of the ones that I have found, it's a group of teenagers who are on the spectrum. And they're going to teach them social skills with other teenagers who are on the spectrum. And that's what it is. And this makes me break out into hives. Because I understand starting there.
Yeah.
But how do we actually, shouldn't there be, it seems like to me, the perfect social skills program would be that it's a 4-week class. And the first 2 weeks, it's just kids who are on the autism spectrum. But the last 2 weeks, there's another half of the class added that's all people who are not on the spectrum. Wouldn't that, I guess I'm going to start a social skills group. Wouldn't that be the thing?
Or maybe I'll start that. That sounds amazing.
You know, but isn't that the thing? I mean, doesn't that need to be? Am I the only person that thinks that that's crazy? That that the vast majority of social skills programs, it's just individuals who are on the spectrum. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, because you're only ending at the role play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're never getting to the real thing. So I think that's a really good idea.
That would be like saying to people who are going to the Olympics, well, we're just going to practice in the backyard and then we're going to go to the Olympics.
By the way, another complaint I've heard about social skills is that some of them are just hangouts. So you get a bunch of these people together who are all on the spectrum and you eat pizza together, or you go bowling together, or you play games together or something like that. But they're not actually working to teach them specific skills.
Yeah.
And so you have to be aware of those kinds of social skills groups as well.
Yeah.
You want to make sure they're actually teaching specific skills.
Yeah, it's one of those areas where, and I know that there's some good social skills places, and we've tried to feature them here on the show. But it's another one of those areas that I say be buyer beware, because a lot of times it's somebody who just puts social skills on it because they want to get into your checkbook, and you gotta know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a key word when you see social skills. They're doing that on purpose for marketing.
Yeah, yeah, because it makes all of our ears go up. Oh, they have social skills, but you got to ask some questions.
Right.
Okay, so we want to make sure that they have an opportunity to work on it with peers, because otherwise, with peers that are neurotypical. Otherwise, we're not going to get to the point where they can, be someplace on their own and put these things into practice.
In some cases, we have some interventionists who actually look young.
Yes.
And they've asked the teen, would you be okay with me coming and hanging out with you and your friends on this event or whatever, and you can just introduce me as a family friend and leave it up to the teen, and the teen's like, yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.